2 decades ago, model Christine Handy was at the top of her game. She was working for brands like J. Crew, Guess, and Pepsi. And at the age of 41, she was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. She won her battle and then realized she had a new purpose in life to inspire others. And we are so grateful to have her with us this afternoon. Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to see you. You have been through so much, but I want to go back to that time because we're talking about more than a decade ago. You were battling multiple health issues, but you were able to cope and go through that diagnosis. How did you do that?
Well, I wouldn't say I coped very well in the beginning, and I did have multiple illnesses at the same time, which made it a little bit more difficult. But my greatest fear at that moment when I was diagnosed was I going to raise my children? Mm-hmm. Was I going to have that privilege that we take so cavalier about, we're just able to do that. And so that was my biggest fear. And I just couldn't understand why my body kept betraying me. That's what I really felt. And so I was in this emotional paralysis, and I didn't know how to move forward. And it wasn't until a lot of women in my life showed up for me and said to me, "We will never forsake you. We're not here just for the good times. This is not transactional. We're going to stick by your side." And that's now what I'm trying to do for other women, because it's not transactional.
Yeah, it's really remarkable, right? What community can do and what people can do, what one person can do for somebody else. You're cancer-free now.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. How did this change your life? How did this change the outlook of your life?
Well,
you were so young, so young when you were diagnosed.
And you don't expect it.
Of course.
But, and you think it's an older person's disease, which it's not. It's actually getting younger. But it changed my life dramatically because I was worried about what people thought of me before. And then when you're diagnosed with cancer and somebody says to you, "This is your percentile chance of survival," all those things go out the window.
Of course.
The bags that I coveted, they could no longer keep me warm at night. That didn't matter. And so I started to think about, over the 15 months that I went through chemotherapy, what really did matter. And it was love, and it was serving. It wasn't being served. And so I took all the lessons that I learned and started to show up for people in life, and decided that I was going to use whatever platform I had, whether it's modeling or writing or being a mother, and try to help other people in that way.
And you've really, really done that. So you were a model before the diagnosis, but you were determined to get back out there for yourself as well, right? I mean, you have to show up for yourself. That's really important too.
I mean, first, yes, of course.
First and foremost, but why was it important for you to get back out there for other women?
So I really went back to modeling because, ironically, I don't know anybody that tried to reconstruct their breasts more after breast cancer than I did. I had mastectomies, and then I had multiple reconstructions. And then in 2020, I had a MRSA infection in my chest and breast implant illness. And my chest was excavated for the 3rd and 4th time. So technically, I had 4 mastectomies.
Right.
And when I woke up from the emotional pain of that and the physical pain of that, which was grotesque, I thought, man, if I have a very strong self-esteem, which I do, and a community of people that cheer for me and hold me up and care about me, what about the women that don't have that community of people? How do they feel waking up with a concave chest? And so I said to myself, I have to go back to modeling and maybe have a bigger platform to show that my beauty doesn't get rinsed off. My beauty is not dissected because I lost my breast to breast cancer. My beauty is an inside job, is my job to nurture my self-esteem. And if I could showcase that, right, in New York Fashion Week or Miami Swim Week or with Victoria's Secret, being a breastless model, then people could see that and they could borrow my courage, right? That's what we do for people.
What was that like to get back out there on the runway for you?
I mean, it does take a lot of courage at my age, but it's worth every second, because I have people that message me on social media and just say, okay, now that you've done that, now maybe I can do this. And it's encouraging to me. So it's been a life mission of mine to help women since my diagnosis, and I take it very seriously, and I've enjoyed the process.
I want to ask you this question about social media, because I feel like social media plays a big role. We were talking about it before we came on. It plays a big role in how we feel about ourselves, and how we perceive everybody else, on what we think is important and what we don't think is important. Talk about how that plays a role for you right now.
Well, I'm very careful about who I follow. I mean, I follow people who are not just putting highlight reels out there.
Right.
And I think people are attracted to my story because I do put a lot of vulnerability out there. I mean, I talk about who I used to be before cancer, and it's not attractive. I mean, I was very materialistic. And so I try not to follow people like that, and I try to be I've had a lot of issues, illnesses, and so I try to be very frank about the fears that I felt going through those, but I also try to talk about how I overcame them. Like, for instance, at some point during my chemotherapy journey, which was long, I decided that I wasn't going to pay so much attention to the outcome. I didn't know whether I was going to live or die, but every day that I was worried about it was creating fear in my life, and that was creating fear in my children and fear in my community. But if I could show up every day to show courage, that was building my self-esteem, that was showing courage to my community, and importantly, my children. And so I changed my focus. When our focus is on fear, we become fearful. When our focus is on faith and nurturing our self-esteem, and we're talking kindly to ourselves, the whole trajectory of your life can change.
And I feel like you want to show other women too who are getting a devastating diagnosis like that every single day, what to focus on, because you're right, that is what the focus should be, is healing, but it's really, really difficult.
Right, and so I can model in New York Fashion Week, and I can model courage, but I can also model that on social media. And so I would be very careful with who you follow and what voices you're listening to, and especially your own.
So good to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful for your journey and your inspiration. And I know we have more to talk about. That's for sure. All right. For more information on Christine's journey, you can go to her website, christinehandy.com. Also follow her on Instagram. She is somebody you want to follow, Christine Handy 1.